Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a huge puzzle coming out of a major report from McKinsey's AI team, something that's got boardrooms everywhere scratching their heads. All right, let's just jump right in, because this is probably one of the biggest questions in business today. I mean, you've seen it, right? The headlines, the hype, all this money pouring into generative AI, but when you look at the bottom line, the results just aren't there. And that brings us to this, honestly, a staggering number, a full 80%. That's how many companies, according to a recent McKinsey survey, are using Gen AI, but seeing basically no real impact on their bottom line. It's such a huge disconnect that experts have a name for it, the Gen AI paradox. So over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack this paradox. We'll look at what's really going on, the big imbalance at the heart of it, and then talk about the proposed solution, something called AI agents. We'll see how they can totally reinvent workflows. And finally, lay out the playbook for how leaders can actually make this happen. All right, section 1. So let's dig into that 80% number. What is really going on here? Why is there this massive gap between all the hype and the actual on-the-ground reality of AI's impact? I mean, look, the adoption numbers are through the roof. Over 78% of companies are using this stuff. We're seeing this explosion of experimentation. Tools like ChatGPT are completely reshaping how businesses even think about AI. But all that excitement, all that activity, it's just not turning into cold, hard cash. It's a classic case of being busy but not productive. And when you dig in, you find that the heart of this paradox, well, it comes down to a fundamental imbalance between two very different kinds of AI that companies are using. So, on one hand, you've got what's called horizontal AI. Think of these as your general-purpose tools, like company-wide copilots. They're super easy to roll out to everyone, but their impact gets spread so thin it's kind of hard to even measure. Then, on the other hand, you have vertical AI. Now, this is the good stuff. Highly specific tools for things like sales or supply chain management that have huge potential. But here's the kicker. Something like 90% of these high-impact projects are just stuck. They're stuck in pilot mode and never actually get rolled out. So why are they stuck? Well, it's a whole mix of things: strategy, tech, and just plain old company culture. You've got these scattered projects with no real backing from the top. You've got messy data and tools that aren't quite ready for prime time. And then you throw in the human element, teams that don't talk to each other, and a real fear of change. It all just grinds things to a halt. Okay, so how do you break out of this pilot purgatory? Well, the report argues the answer lies in the next big leap for AI, something they call AI agents. And what's so cool about this is the shift in thinking it represents. We're not talking about a chatbot you have to spoon-feed prompts to anymore. This is a move from a passive assistant to a truly autonomous collaborator. You give it a high-level goal, and it just runs with it. It owns the outcome from start to finish. You know, the CEO of Mistral AI, Arthur Mensch, said it perfectly. The key here is that we have to stop just bolting on AI to our old processes. Instead, we have to completely reinvent how we work around AI. It's got to be the engine driving the car, not just a gadget you plug into the dashboard. And this is how they pull it off. It's a 4-step process. They understand the goal, they plan the steps, they execute the actions, and, this is key, they adapt in real time. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's a constant loop of doing and learning. And that autonomy is what lets them tackle these super complex workflows that older AI just couldn't handle. But here's the really important part. You can't just plug these powerful new agents into your old, creaky processes and expect magic to happen. Unlocking their true power means we have to completely reinvent how we think about work itself. Okay, let's make this real. Imagine a customer call center. We're going to walk through 3 different levels of AI integration here, and you'll see how the impact just skyrockets at each stage. All right, level 1. This is Gen AI assisted. Here, AI is basically a helpful sidekick for the human agent. It drafts responses, finds info. You get a little bump in efficiency, maybe 5 to 10%. But the core way of doing things, it's exactly the same. Now, at level 2, we get to agent optimized. Here, AI agents start taking over specific tasks, like sorting tickets automatically. The boost is much bigger. We're talking a 20 to 40% improvement. It's definitely better, but you're still just making an old process run a little faster. But level 3, this is where everything changes. This is agent reinvented. You're not just tweaking the old workflow, you're throwing it out and building a new one from the ground up around the agent. Now, agents aren't just helping, they're running the show. They're proactively spotting problems, solving 80% of common issues all by themselves, and only bringing in a human when it's absolutely necessary. The impact is just massive, a 60 to 90% drop in resolution time. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. Tweaking an old workflow gives you a nice little boost, but completely reinventing it around what these agents can do, that gives you a massive order of magnitude leap in performance. That's the difference between a small improvement and a genuine transformation. So the big question is, how does a leader actually make that leap? How do you get from level 1 to level 3? Well, it's not about buying some new software. It's about a fundamental strategic reset across the entire company. The playbook basically calls for 4 big shifts. You got to go from scattered, tactical little projects to big, strategic programs. You stop focusing on tiny use cases and start focusing on reinventing whole business processes. Your AI teams can't be locked away in a silo anymore. They need to be cross-functional squads driving the change. And, maybe most importantly, the phase of just playing around with AI has to end. It's time to get serious and build a system that can deliver this stuff at scale. And that pivot really comes down to 3 concrete actions from the very top. Number 1, officially call an end to the sandbox phase. No more just trying stuff. It's time to focus on the areas that will have the biggest impact. Number 2, create a strategic council to steer the ship from the top down. And number 3, launch one big, high-profile lighthouse project that shows everyone in the company what's possible and lights the way forward. So when you boil it all down, the report's message is pretty clear. The time for just exploring and experimenting is over. The tech is ready. The challenge isn't about the code anymore. It's about the company culture and organization. And that leaves every leader with this really crucial question to think about. Because the companies that figure this out, they aren't just going to get a competitive edge. They're going to completely redefine how their business works for the next decade and beyond.